Um, it's wonderful to share the space with everyone and see such a great turnout. And I think it's a testament to the work that AHEAD are doing, but also the need of awareness and disability supports, not only before going to college, but again, transitioning into that college space. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about that today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Daniel McFarlane, and I am the Here DARE manager in the Irish University Association. Also, a bit about myself and the work that I do. I spent about 10 years working in Trinity in the Access office, and I went to college through the Here scheme many moons ago. But I think the great thing about the supports that we deliver across higher education in Ireland, they are now generally made up of the people who the very sports were intended to attract to higher education. So I think it's a really key win when we're talking about something like Dare to Dream, is that the people now who avail of the supports are the ones ensuring that they're delivering the supports too. So there really is a scheme knowledge and a lived experience knowledge that influences our supports. So I'll chat you through that too throughout the presentation. I'm also not on my own. I'm joined by Ciara O'Brien, and Ciara is also a wonderful student, I suppose, inspiration. And Ciara will talk about a little bit of the work that she does in Trinity. And then likewise, we're going to talk about that transition over into college too, because I think there's a lot of stress in your Leaving Cert year. And I think sometimes people get so hell-bent on the things like points and all of the secondary school pressures that they forget to actually be really excited for the opportunities in college and even the communities in college too. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So Quiva, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump on to the next slide, please. Perfect. So I just wanted to literally open up this space. It's called Dare to Dream, and I think we're at about 20 past 11 here, so hopefully everybody's had a bit of tea or coffee. But I think just to step out of the kind of the presentation mode for a moment, and if I could just ask everybody to just reflect for a quick moment, have a think, and what I want you to think about is this question: does everyone in Irish society have the same access to higher education? Give it a minute. I can see a couple of people. Mary saying, no. No. Yeah, if you want, you can throw it in the chat there as well. It'd be great to see. But I think the general consensus, even by saying the heads, yeah, Trevor says that in theory, and I think that's particularly true as well. So I think together we are in agreement that not everyone has the same access to higher education. And even like Trevor said there, in theory, if you looked at it on paper, it would look like we all sit the same Leaving Cert at the exact same time. We do have reasonable accommodations, let's say, for people to have a little bit extra long. But likewise, if you take a step back, we all sit the Leaving Cert, it's all at a specific time, and we all get graded in an anonymous way as well. But actually, the reality is much more complex. And exactly like a couple of people there, whether it's Michelle, I can see Maeve also said no, it's essentially like winning a race. We're all on the same track, but some people's track has nails on it. Some people's track has, it's a little bit more windy. Some people are a lot more tired running on that track. Likewise, other people might have resources to, let's say, for better shoes. So again, what I'm basically saying with that analogy is that we're not all the same, and it's much easier, let's say, to experience higher education with someone who might be resourced to experience that. And again, that outputs means that we're making sure that not everybody then has the same opportunities. So we're really going to talk about that. And really, if I can just jump onto the next slide there, Quiva, that'd be wonderful. What I'm basically getting at is the DARE scheme stands for equity as opposed to equality. And what that means is instead of giving everybody 100 points and say, oh, this is very tough, we know how hard it is for Leaving Cert students across the board, you're all getting extra points or you're all getting something specific. The DARE scheme stands for equity. And that means giving people exactly what they need to succeed. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means on the next slide too. Thanks. So really, the DARE scheme, it is the answer to that equity issue that we're talking about. And really, if I could boil it down to its bare basics, the DARE scheme is the Disability Access Route to Education, and it's a third level alternative admission scheme for school leavers whose disability has had a negative impact on their second level education. So again, it's really trying to make sure, if you think of that race analogy that I kept saying, it's making sure that you are rewarded for the disability that you might have, and you are given the supports that you deserve. When people ask me time and time again, okay, show me the money, how many points? It offers reduced points places, and again, that's on specifically targeted courses as well. So it's a really, really good opportunity, and it's supposed to help people who've experienced additional educational challenges in second level. Just onto the next slide there, if that's okay. So people ask me this all the time. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so maybe I can only go to one or two places, or the local college, HEI, whatever. And we say, no, DARE is a passport to all public institutions in Ireland. So if you can see all these here, the reason why it's set up and the reason why we're national in the work that we do is that if you're a student with dyslexia from Dublin and you really, really want to go to St. Andrews and Sligo, the DARE scheme could do that for you. Likewise, if you're a student down in Kerry, you might be blind, vision impaired, you have the full opportunity to go to your dream course all the way up in Dublin too. So it's not just, people come at a lot of the time with the work that we do, with I suppose a charity framework, and that's not what it is. It's not a back door. It is not something to be very, very afraid of or embarrassed about. It is literally a route that's championing you to go to all of these magnificent colleges. And likewise, it's all of the courses at undergrad level as well. So it's not just about saying, oh, you can only have one or two places, or oh, maybe you can go here or there. It's all of the undergrad courses. Next slide, please, Cleva.
Daniel, I might just tell you that someone in the chat is saying that the volume is low. It's okay for me, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've just had a little look there. I think we're good to go.
Okay, cool.
Perfect, thank you. I'll enunciate. I'm a mumbler, so I'll enunciate as well. And also, just again, and this is the piece that I really, really, really want to stress. There's something in all of the colleges for everyone, irrespective of if you want to go to Trinity, if you want to go to Galway. There is DARE courses and designated DARE places in all undergrad colleges. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to jump on to the next one. So students say to me, or even parents, if you're a parent on this call, wonderful, how can I apply? How do you actually do it? So you should be thinking about, if you are applying to the scheme, you have to think and reflect a little on, has your disability had negative impact on your educational performance in school? That's not often, just about, oh, my grades are low. Sometimes that could be something like your grades are okay, but you've had to go home 2-3 times a week because of significant ongoing illness. Or likewise, maybe you couldn't participate in an awful lot of the extracurricular sports that the school provides, like football, basketball, acting, all those pieces. So you have to reflect on that negative impact piece. And then also, because it is connected to the Leaving Cert, you might not be able to meet the points for your preferred course because of the impact of your disability. And then remember, it is a route for people under the age of 23. So that's when you're over 23, that's what we would call a mature student. So applicants of this year have to be under the age of 23 as of the 1st of January, 2025. Next slide there, please, Cleva. So these are some of the disabilities that are eligible for consideration. You can go online and we have a full list there, but this is just some of the top level pieces. We've got everything from ASD, ADD, blind, vision impaired, all the way down there. If you can see significant ongoing illness, a lot of people, because there's a lot more fluidity, I suppose, to some of the disabilities that people are presenting with, you could have one or two of these. Likewise, you could also have an illness that might not be captured in this list, but that could be captured under something such as physical disability or even significant ongoing illness. So they are umbrella terms, if for want of a better word, that really what you're going to have to do if you are a candidate, you might have to just look on the website first. Next slide there, Cleva, please. So this is the eligibility criteria that we set, because again, we want to make sure that it's championing you as a full applicant and the full educational pathway. So you do have to meet the educational impact criteria. So that's assessing your school experience, what's actually what kind of levels of support you've availed of in school. And then, pardon me, you need to meet the evidence of disability criteria too. And that's Again, that would be certain forms that you'd have to fill in with the likes of a psychiatrist or even a consultant. And then, like we said, to be eligible, you have to present and you have to meet both educational impact and DARE evidence disability. Next slide there, please, Cuiva. So again, people are saying educational impact. Oh, Jeannie Mac, what kind of a word is that? I don't know. Give me a moment, let me think. And they start panicking. But if I could even just throw some of these questions out, and it's a really good thinking device and kind of a framework to start assessing with your educational impact work that you'll have to do in school. So really, that's things like, have you received any interventions or supports in post-primary? Everything from a reader to additional time to maybe your own exam centre. Has it impacted your attendance? And you don't have to meet all of these, because sometimes students will say, well, actually, no, I don't know about my attendance. I haven't thought about that much. So you do have to kind of reflect and think on some of the other pieces and engage with the people in your school. And they will have an awful lot of the information to back this up. Another question there, number 4, has it impacted your learning or exam results? Sometimes people have significant ongoing illnesses or even disabilities, and it's natural, they flare up during times of stress and worry. So if we're talking about mocks, or even if we're talking about in-house exams, you know, that is an impact from a disability. And then, has it caused any other educational impact? We want to make sure that you're presenting your own case. So, you know, there could be more educational impact that we might not have considered right there, but that might be significant to you. And then again, just make sure for everyone, because they do present with dyslexia or significant learning difficulties, dyscalculia, you know, really has that impacted your literacy and numeracy skills too. Next slide, please, Cuiva. Perfect. So again, students will say to me, wonderful, it sounds like I'm eligible. Tell me about the points. And I get it, because it's really, really important. Points are the things that are beholden to an awful lot of people for their dreams and their dream courses. So in that Dare to Dream piece, we do have to make sure that we're giving people the correct information, and also that people know where to get the specific information that they might need. So this is a really keen example. So let's say if a Leaving Cert course points is 366, an eligible DARE candidate could be offered a place with lower score points, such as 356. That's a very generic, I suppose, example, because if you think back to the map example that I had, you know, all colleges are different, their points are different, and it's really reliant on a couple of key bits that I'm going to talk about below. So it's really reliant on the number of places in your DARE course. So let's say if you're medicine, which could be a really large course, or maybe English, which could be a smaller course. So it's really reliant on that. It's reliant on the number of reserved places in that course, and then the number of DARE applicants who are also competing for the course. Because if you can remember that with DARE, the applicants who are DARE eligible are competing for their own places together as well. And again, the reduction in points for DARE places, they can vary from year to year. So it is actually in your favor to think to see that fluidity. But likewise, you can go to the colleges and you can ask them, and I'll show you how in a moment. Really, I'm, you know, you could say as an example, I'm a DARE candidate and I'm looking to apply to DARE, and I really want to go study film and English, let's say. What are your DARE points for that? And how many places do you have reserved? The colleges will be quite free and given with some of that information, and then other points, you know, other parts of the information might be quite challenging because of GDPR, but they will give you the general information that they can. And again, we want that for our applicants so that you know exactly what you might be aiming towards. And it's going to help that, again, going back to the title of the talk, Dare to Dream kind of ethos while you're doing all your really difficult work in Leaving Cert year. Next slide there, please, Cleva. So the big thing that I want to make sure for everyone as well with benefits of applying to DARE, because DARE fulfills two things. It wants to get you to college if you're a student with a disability, and it wants to keep you in college. So there's really lots of benefits, and it's quite different for each college, but at the core of what they deliver is specific orientation programs for students with disabilities, specific learning support, access to assistive technology, and also things like library support. Again, it's really important to stress as well. It's about keeping you in college, but then also making sure that you're having, you know, a good time too. So a big thing as well is that other aspects of it, and each college do this differently. But it's the college community, making sure that you fully engage in all aspects of college, whether that's social kind of stuff, or accommodations as well. So you are able to those pieces, and then the other key bits like academic tuition and an educational support worker. Again, just in case, because it's really important, it's emboldened there, that you don't always have to be DARE eligible though to apply for DARE supports in college. So people say, that sounds like a wonderful idea. How do I apply? Is there a separate application form? Is there another place I have to go? No. Thankfully, it's all done through your CAO. So you have to apply to the CAO by the 1st of February 2026. You really should reach out to your guidance counselor, or any kind of educational professional that you work with, and you should be working through the likes of the DARE handbook. It's really, really helpful, particularly for parents or guardians. You need to complete section A of the online supplementary information form, that's called SIF, and apply to DARE by answering yes to question 1 by the 1st of March. So again, that's quite a technical step that I've just mentioned there, but you have to fill out your online application for DARE on the CAO. I really, really want to make sure to stress that you should be gathering the documentation now for the documentation you might need to provide. I really wouldn't want any parent or guardian or adult or even applicant to be worrying about the documentation while they should be doing their mocks. Try get it before Christmas, because it's really important to try get that on time. And then you submit all the educational impact and all of the documentation that you have to provide to the CAO via post by the 15th of March. So we all know what it can be like to avail of supports in this current climate. So please do start reaching out to your whether it's your consultant or even your guidance counselor now to start going through some of that work. Someone asked me there, what documents should you collect? So you need to submit your educational impact statement and evidence disability. And for every different disability, the documents might be different. So if you look, you can go into Access College and it will have a full breakdown of disabilities there, and it'll show you what documents you might need to collect. Thank you. Next slide, please, there, Quiva. So even some of the pieces with the supplementary information form. Oh, thank you very much, Danielle. If you can just see there, the link to provide an evidence disability is in the chat there. Wonderful. So with the supplementary information form, so you complete in section A, you complete that online by the 1st of March. And then again, just to make sure for everyone, you answer yes to apply to DARE, and then you fully complete questions 1 to 5. And then in section B, your educational impact statement, that's completed by your school. That's the likes of what we said, if going all the way back to assessments within, have you had extra exam support? The schools, to be honest, if you are in school and you're not necessarily outside of school, they know how to fill out the DARE forms. They're really, really good at that. So do make sure and start talking to your school about this. So for your evidence disability, again, it has to be completed by the appropriate professional, and that's really, really important. If you can see the link that Danielle put in the chat, that spells out quite frankly the black and white nature of, if this is the disability you're presenting with, this is the professional you might need it from. And then section D, where applying under dyslexia and significant learning difficulties category, applicants who do not have a psychological assessment report identifying dyslexia should submit section D of the school statement. So again, we know that it's difficult for some applicants to provide various documentation. So if you can even see there, that's a way of, again, making sure that your school can help you in that process too. Next slide there, please, Green. Wonderful. And then section B again, just to make sure, so that provides information on how your disability has impacted on your second level education. You can download the form, then you can complete the educational statement checklist with your school. Your school will need to complete the rest of the following responses on your EIS too. So really, 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 I want to make sure for everyone that you do draw upon the resources that your school presents. Don't internalize the worry of trying to get this over the line. Reach out to your guidance counselor early on, because they know all about this, I promise you. Likewise, if you're learning support, they know about it. Even if they don't know about it, there will be somebody in school who's had experience with filling this form in. Next slide there, please. Wonderful. So even with some of your educational impact statement, so the form needs completed by your guidance counselor, learning support teacher, year head, visiting teacher, or principal and deputy principal. Don't worry again about that visiting teacher piece. It throws a lot of people. That's really when it comes to blind or vision impaired, or even students who might be hard of hearing or deaf. So don't worry about that. You don't have to suddenly find a visiting teacher if it doesn't apply to you. And the form, again, must be signed and stamped by the principal or deputy principal. And that's not just so that we're, we're being fastidious there. We really do want to value the input from your principal and deputy principal, because it's about that joined up resource of this is what the school has been giving you and this is what we need to take that forward. And again, just to remind everyone, it needs to be completed by the 15th of March 2025. Next slide there, please, Kuba. And then that's your evidence disability. Again, I won't go through this too much because I've kind of discussed it beforehand, but again, it provides verification of your disability and helps to determine third level supports. So it's really, really important that you fill this in and that it's from a relevant professional. So again, you get the form completed, signed and stamped by an appropriate professional, or it can be accompanied by their business card or unheaded paper. Another key piece that I just want to make sure, for GP verification, your GP may be in a position to complete Section C, evidence of disability, if they have the appropriate information on file from the consultant or specialist. Somebody asked a really key question there, and I think it's really, really important, and I'm sure other people have it too. You need to complete your work for DARE in 6th year. So your DARE work, your application to DARE, goes alongside your application to the CAO. Thank you. Next slide there, please, Cuba. Wonderful. So again, just from some bits around the evidence disability, because it's really important that applicants under the following disability categories must provide a report that is less than 3 years old. So it's dated after the 1st of February 2022, and that's under the umbrellas of ADD, ADHD, mental health condition, and significant ongoing illness. So it's really important. Thank you. Next slide, please. And then just a third point for evidence of disability for psychological assessment, applicants with dyslexia, significant learning difficulties, or dyscalculia, significant numeracy difficulties, must provide a full psychological assessment report of any age, completed by a psychologist. It's really, really important that it's completed by a psychologist. Year on year, we get evidence of disability for dyslexia and significant numeracy difficulties too, and it's not by the correct professional. And then again, just make sure when applying under the dyslexia significant learning difficulty category, applicants who do not have a psychological assessment report identifying dyslexia should submit the Section D school statement. And then applicants with dyslexia or significant learning difficulties must have 2 literacy attainment scores at or below the 10th percentile. And I know that this is quite pedantic, I suppose, and people go around, they don't really go around thinking about what percentile I'm in, but I promise you that's why that's why your school works on this, because they will have all of that information and they know this to hand. So again, below the 10th percentile. Then applicants with dyscalculia, significant numeracy difficulties, must also have 1 numeracy attainment score at or below the 10th percentile too. Perfect. Okay, next slide there, please. And then just again to make sure, because this is the key piece for everyone, the attainment scores can be from one or a combination of the following sources. So from a school-based attainment testing, scores from attainment tests carried out by a psychologist, and testing must be carried out after the 1st of February 2023. And all applicants must submit an EI as completed by their school. Wonderful. And then again, if you have more questions to this, you can go over to the providing evidence of disability page on the DARE website. But again, you must post evidence of disability documentation to the CIO by the 15th of March 2025, and keep a copy. Please do not send us originals. Someone also asked in the chat way back when, how in depth do some of the reports might need to be. Try and provide evidence of really we're looking at the full picture here. So people might send on reports that could be 20 pages long, and that's not that's not excessive. That's actually a report that we would need to have. Next slide there, please. Okay, so for the school statement with section D, if you are not applying under dyslexia, significant learning difficulties category, you do not have a psychological assessment report identifying dyslexia, then you have to make section D school statement. Ensure that it's signed and stamped by the special educational needs teacher and countersigned by the principal. And again, this form is signed off too and sent to the CIO. Next slide there, please, David. So then helpful tips year on year, there are key trends and applications, and then there's key issues applications every year too. So what I want to make sure for everyone really is that you have to study the DARE handbook quite carefully. And again, that's to make sure that everyone's comfortable with the steps of applying to DARE and they know exactly what the scheme can provide. You also need to tick yes to question 1 on or before 5 p.m. on the 1st of March, and then ensure that you speak to your teacher really if you're in school next Monday. And it's really, really important that you start really availing of those resources now so that you don't have to worry about it. And then you need to make sure to request the support and documentation early. Likewise, we all know what it could be like to try follow up with healthcare professionals. So really what I would ask people to do is start looking for that documentation now. You shouldn't be worrying about this the week of Christmas Eve, but you should be making sure to give it your best effort. And then something that we really want to make sure is, please do try send us good quality copies of the pages. And that's not saying that it needs to be on, a specific cotton paper or anything like that, but we need to visibly see what's on the page. If it's very hard to read for us as assessors, we're not able to actually determine what's the contents of the page. So please do make sure to send good quality copies. And then you really, really, really need to submit all documents by the 15th of March. It's really, really important. For a lot of applicants, and it's kind of the way Gen Zers are going now, and that's completely fine. The posting, when people have to post things to the CIO, it's probably the first time in their life that they've ever posted anything. So do make sure when you go in to just ask for proof of postage. You shouldn't be paying for registered post. You don't need to, but just keep the proofs of postage. And then also, please, 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 don't be sending on the 14th of March. Don't be rocking up in, the morning of the 15th of March thinking, oh, it's going to be fine. Give yourself plenty of time. You shouldn't be worrying about this when you're doing your mocks. You shouldn't be worrying about this when you're doing any sort of, leave insert stuff. It should be nice and simple, nice and straightforward with plenty of time as well. Next slide. Next slide, please. Thanks. So again, just common mistakes that we see year on year. So your evidence of disability is completed by a GP, but the required copy of the report by appropriate professional confirming your diagnosis was not provided. That's really, really important, that the GP might have completed parts of it, but that we don't actually have the source document. The reports are out of date. We do, when we say that we need certain reports to be in date, we really do mean it. And then the reports not confirming diagnosis of condition by consultant. Sometimes the consultant might be quite flippant with the way in which they've detailed the disability, and you might need to call back and actually say, oh no, actually I need you to specifically write that out. So don't be afraid to make that request. You do need to make sure that it is quite in black and white in that report. Thing we find year on year, if we can just jump back there, please. Sorry, Clea. Thanks. I think that aspect that we find year on year, and it's really troubling, but we need to make sure that it's by the correct professional. Every year, section Cs are filled out by an incorrect professional. So please do look at Access College and the DARE side of the house. You can drop down, you can look at the table, and it will tell you the correct professional that it is provided by. And then test details missing, like the name of the test. We don't know what kind of test was done. We don't know what date, and we don't even know who conducted the test. So it's really, really important for testing details, let's say for literacy and numeracy scores, that we have the full information there. And then people forget to complete question 1 on the supplementary information form every single year. So please make sure to fill in that question form by the 1st of March at 5 o'clock. Next slide there, please, Peter. Thank you. So again, I just want to make sure for everyone, when you're applying for grants, I won't go through all of the SUSI opportunities because that's, I suppose that's another piece of work for another day. But DARE do not give you money. It is not the SUSI grant. You know, if you apply to DARE, you should also apply to SUSI if you think that you should be eligible. So it's just really, really important to stress that fact that DARE and SUSI are two different things. Next slide, please, Cleveland. And if we could jump ahead, there's a couple of SUSI slides that we won't really talk about, but I think it's important for people to have them too. And then some of the timelines I think is really important. And this is DARE and here timelines, because again, with that intersectionality piece, DARE is for students of low income to progress to college. But if you are an applicant for both schemes, you know, they run on the exact same timelines. So we do make sure that the closing dates for applications 1st of March, then you send your support and documentation by the 15th of March. Students won't hear anything from us about eligibility until the end of their Leaving Cert. It's generally the last day of their Leaving Cert. And then that's a yes/no outcome. And if you're unhappy with let's say a no outcome, you have a review and appeals process that you can say, actually, my consultant provided the wrong date, or there was an error in my application, my GP didn't do this correctly. You're able to rectify that then too. And then basically your here or DARE offer comes out during the Leaving Cert offers as well. So it's all one centralized system and all going well for applicants. They're then heading into their college orientation in late August or early September. Next slide there, please, Google. So if I can just make sure to everyone, start the conversation early, start the conversation now, talking to your mom or dad or guardian or whoever takes care of you about making a DARE application. Likewise, avail of the supports in school. They know very, very well about how to make a DARE application. If they don't, they know how to come and to ask the DARE practitioners across the country what to do. So please, 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 if I can just let everyone know, start early and start the conversation now. And a big thing is that, again, please, please, please make sure to submit the documentation, check it, and send it off. We see it every year that people think they sent documents and they pull out the desk or they look at the back of the homework journal and they're like, oh my God, I didn't do it. We don't want you to be in that situation. We want to make sure that you're all on time, but that you're also given the supports that you deserve as an applicant with a disability. Next slide there, please, good. So again, just with that intersectional piece, I think it's really, really important to dispel any rumors or worries. If you're eligible for the Here and Dare scheme, you should apply for both of them, and you can apply for both of them. People say to me every year, oh, I'm kind of might be eligible for the Here scheme, but like I just thought I might as well just do the Dare scheme. I don't need both. But you do if you're eligible for both, and you will be prioritized for reduced points places. That doesn't mean, you know, you get 200 points off or you get 600 points off, because that's what students say to me every year. But no, what it actually means is that you are prioritized and you are given the supports that you deserve. Next slide there, please, Guido. So again, I just want to make sure for everyone, if they are looking for further information, I know that's a lot of information coming at you and everybody comes to this at their own time. So you can go to Access College, and if you're applying for the Here scheme or the Dare scheme, you click either side and then you can look at some of those pieces there too. Again, if anyone has any questions about the Here or Dare scheme, I really, really want to make sure, particularly for the Dare side of the house, that you seek advice from any Dare practitioner across the country. There's over 40 Here and Dare practitioners across the country. So people like me who work in access and disability across all of the colleges, and they're literally scheme experts. They'll be able to say, no, this is the file, or yeah, this is the document that you need to get. And they're also able to answer some of the questions that you might have about what their college specifically does for students with a disability like your own. So it's really important to go on there. Most colleges, their address for, particularly for DARE queries, is always something along the lines of dare@tcd.ie or ucd.ie or dcu.ie, NCAD. You know, I won't tell you about all of them, but again, these are really, really important resources for you to avail of and reach out to. So next slide there, please, Google. Another key piece that we really want to make sure everyone has access to, we will have in-person application information days running on Saturday, the 11th of January, 2025. That's all across the country from about 10 to 2 p.m. We'll have full information on the Access College website. It's not up at the moment because we're confirming the last locations and details, but effectively that's almost like the online conference that's happening today, and the online information that's happening today will be in person. So you will get a chance to go and present to a disability access support worker, let's say in a local college, and you can say, look, I want to apply to DARE. These are my documents. Does this look okay to you? What do you provide in this local college? And that's where most colleges now, we're going to have almost like a cluster. So UCC will be open for anyone based down in Cork. We'll also have a couple of colleges in Dublin. We'll have colleges over in the west, and then we've got some colleges up on the northeast as well, and northwest up in St. Angela's. So all information will be on the Access College website, but it's really important that you as an applicant should go to those days. It kind of steadies people in their worries, and it also puts a face to a lot of the names that are involved in the DARE scheme. Next slide there, please, Pete. Perfect. So I just want to make sure again, people will still say to us, yeah, I know, but like, where does this all exist? I'm really worried. I've got all this documentation. What do I do? Is there a different website? No, it's all through the CAO. So you always get emails that way, and then all the information will be contained on your Leaving Cert. And again, people worry about this year on year with application outcomes. You won't hear anything from the DARE scheme between March and June. And that's because we want to leave you alone to do your studying, to make sure that you're prepping and then you get ready for your Leaving Cert, but also because we're assessing all the documents and we're going through the information. So you'll hear, again, like I said, it's generally the last day of the Leaving Cert, and then you log into your CIO application to view the outcomes. So again, it's all on the CIO, so don't be worrying. And it's really important when you're applying to the CIO that you use the correct email account. Don't use your school email. Despite you still being in school, that account generally goes dead in the June or July when you leave the school. So please make sure to use the right email. Next slide there, please, Quiven. Perfect. So before I jump on and let Ciara kind of discuss some of the key pieces, I really do just want to stress to everyone that you really should apply to the DARE scheme if you think it's something for you. There's two key pieces for the DARE scheme, if I can stress again, okay? One, it's getting you to college, so that's the points reduction. And then the next is keeping you in college, and that's the resources and services that are available to you for a student with a disability. I really, really want to stress to help that transition between post-primary and college, you have to sign up and you have to register with the disability offices. They don't know you when you arrive. You need to let them know who you are. You need to let them know your needs. And you might not need to engage with them every day of the week, but you do need to register with them as a DARE applicant. So it's really, really important that you are aware that you have to register. And again, that's not so that they're going to be checking up on you and saying, it's not like school. They're not kind of saying, where's your homework or why aren't you doing this? That's so that they can give you the supports that you need to make informed decisions about your life in college. So it's really important. And it's also a really wonderful aspect of campus community that really makes a difference for an awful lot of students engaging not only with DARE, but with the wider kind of campus experience. So for that wider campus experience, I'm really, really pleased to share today with my colleague, Ciara. Ciara's with us there, and I'm going to hand it over to Ciara to talk a little bit about what college life is actually like, because I think there's one key bit that's really, really cool, and that's, applying to DARE. But again, Ciara's talking all about the great stuff of just the breadth and diversity and opportunity of being a student with disability in Trinity. So Ciara, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Ciara. I'm a second year student in Trinity College Dublin. So I'm studying philosophy, political science, economics, and sociology, and specializing in economics and sociology joint honors, which is a fancy way of saying I do a little bit of everything and a bit of maths and a bit of essays, and I love it. It's great. So I do loads of advocacy work, and part of that is I work with the Trinity Ability Co-op, which is a group of students in Trinity who are like the student branch of the Disability Service. So we have a couple of advantages to that. So the obvious disadvantage is that we're volunteers, so we're not getting paid. But the amazing advantage is that we are used to life in college. We know what life in college is like. So when the disability service are saying, "Oh my God, we've solved that," we're like, no, not yet. Or when the disability service, sometimes they come to us and they say, "Look, we're having trouble dealing with so and so, but we can't send 4 follow-up emails, but we can. So we get to be a bit more radical, we get to be a bit more inclusive, and I'd really encourage anyone going into college to make sure that you can, I guess, when you're a student with a disability, sometimes it feels like you're being forced to advocate for yourself. But sometimes I think that's a good opportunity to embrace. I think employers love seeing those like leadership, public speaking, advocacy skills, and I think this is a good opportunity. But I also think that it can boost your self-worth, to know that sometimes it feels like I know for myself with Dare, I was nervous that I was like, I know it's reasonable accommodations, but it can feel like you're getting help and you kind of second guess yourself going, oh, do I deserve this? Do I not deserve this? Um, but I think there's an empowering bit to be able to go to work for it for yourself. As well as accepting the amazing help that Dare can give you, because I got a lot of supports from college and probably wouldn't have survived college without the amazing supports I got from Dare. What I'm going to do is I'm going to include my email. I'm going to send it in the chat there. It's the Ability Co-op email. So there's a couple of students there, disabled students in Trinity who volunteer on disability advocacy. And then what I can advise you is if you happen to be in Trinity and you run into an issue, don't worry about it. Send us an email and we'll be your advocate. You can also talk to your class rep, anything like that. There's so many different supports in college. Obviously, I'm speaking mostly from a Trinity perspective because I haven't been to other universities. But a lot of them work on the same sort of wavelength, and there's supports everywhere. And Dare gives you access to those supports right off the bat. So yeah, so we're a student-led disability advocacy group in Trinity. So I might pass on to the next slide there. Thank you so much. Okay, so I wanted to include some kind of, I don't know, prestigious photos of um college that can seem a bit like, I don't know, overwhelming, but I want you to know that like these are the kind of places that are fabulous. The different things that you learn are amazing. You get such confidence boost from understanding these bizarre things that you never thought you'd even get to read a book on, let alone understand it. But also that I know people can be nervous when they have disabilities, something like imposter syndrome, like, do I belong here? And I want to talk that like, yes, yes, as much as anyone else, yes. Um, and these are some of the spaces that you'll be in college, and I want to talk about the different supports that you can get in each of these spaces. So if I move on to the next slide there. Yeah, so in college there's always group work. So group work for me is one of the situations where I'm like, disability, Um, because I can get stressed doing work and I need to take breaks. And if I'm working with a group, I'm nervous that they won't give me the opportunity to take that break. But being able to be registered with the Disability Service, have them as your advocate, and honestly, people in college are, for the most part, so accepting of a disability, especially because you have such a good backup system that no matter if something goes wrong, there's someone on your side. There's a lot of people on your side. And it's good. It's really good. The lecturers as well are able to rejig things. It's not as strict as secondary school. If you think about secondary school where the curriculum is very fixed, um, in college, the lecturers kind of choose their own curriculum. So if something doesn't suit you so much, maybe it's not so accessible, maybe you need a different timeline, they're totally able to adapt to that. But the other thing is when I talk about being able to take a break in your study, that was something that really caused me a lot of trouble in secondary school, where so I would get panic attacks. And if I am told you need to go to this class, go to this class, go to this class, then take lunch, then go to this class, I don't get the chance to like regulate myself and regulate my own anxiety, and then it increases and I get a panic attack and I just can't work for the rest of the day. So what's important to me about college is some of the lectures are recorded, some of the tutorials are recorded. Even if they're not, you can, as a disabled student, get like exemptions for classes and then read your notes afterwards. And it means that you can control your own schedule much more, which for me stops me getting overwhelmed. Um, which I think is something that's nice to know because I was nervous that, oh, like it's a busier timetable, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It depends on your course. But the fact that you're able to control your own day makes such a massive difference. So I'd really encourage you to just, I know it seems overwhelming. I know the paperwork is overwhelming. I remember doing all this paperwork last year, or not last year, the year before, and it's so super overwhelming, but it's so worth it. And if I can move to the next slide there. Thank you. Oh, maybe back one? Thank you. Oh, Thank you. The other thing is in lectures, um, there are different softwares, different supports that you can get to help you follow along in lectures. So I know some lecturers speak in accents I struggle to understand, or they speak a little bit too fast, or I just couldn't quite understand the maths the first time. And there's so many different ways to get support with this. So in college, so you can go to office hours. So you can ask your lecturer by email usually, can we just meet up and go over something? I need a bit of help with it. Or you can ask your TA, so your like assistant professors, if you can do the same thing. And that really gives you the space to learn at your own speed. So if I don't know, you need to take a few days off because you're in hospital or you're just not feeling up to it, in secondary school, that can really put you behind and it can be very stressful. In college, there's ways to catch up that are much more accessible. So don't panic if that's something that happens, it's okay. And then the other thing about lectures is there are some softwares on offer. So I know Trinity uses Glean, which basically transcribes your lecture for you. So that can be really helpful. Also, as a disabled student, you can get special permission to record extra lectures, which means that you can really do everything at your own pace. So if you prefer working at 3 o'clock in the morning, well, you can listen to your lecture at 3 o'clock in the morning. Personally, that would drive me insane. But absolutely up to you, whatever pace you work at, whatever speed you work at, it's under your control. Then if I move to the next slide as well. Cool. And thank you for putting the name in the chat. Um, So in the library, you have a million different books. What I would encourage you to think about is that if you're nervous about the amount of college work, talk to actual college students because the website will say maybe you have to read 3 books a week. Usually reading a book actually means reading a chapter from a book. Don't panic. Um, Usually when they say you need to read the whole 500-page book, they actually mean you need to read like 30 pages of it. So if you struggle to read super quickly or you struggle to comprehend things super quickly, don't worry about it. They make it sound more intimidating than it is. You are well able for it. It is not an issue. Also, with disability supports, you can take home more books. So if you're not able to go into college for a few days, you can basically have the library from home. I think you can take like 10 books home, um, and do what you need to from home, or from a different library. And also in Trinity Library, there is a quiet room, which I'm obsessed with. You will find me there almost every day. And it's just like dimmed lighting. They have a box of fidgets now, and then beanbags. So it's usually a couple of autistics and then a couple of people who went out drinking too much the night before. So it's really good, really relaxing, really calm. And it's a great space to be able to take a bit of time out of your day. And then we also have rooms that you can book. I call them nap rooms. I don't know if they're actually meant for naps, but it's really handy. So if you get super tired during the day, you're having a busy day, you can just go take some time out, room to yourself, and it's super easy. Um, yes, okay, I'll move on to the next slide. Just read the thing from the chat. Oh yeah, the sense map is so good. You can look that up on the Trinity website. Really, really, really useful. Okay, this is the other part of college life. Doing nothing. So when you go to secondary school and you get your hour of lunch every day, doesn't work like that in college. You take the time that you need to relax and recuperate, and then you work at your own pace. Obviously, there's a certain amount of work that has to be done, but I really want to get across that you're in charge because I think that can impact people's disability a lot more, where it feels like you have to keep up with everyone else who's not disabled, and then you kind of feel yourself falling behind, and it's scary. College isn't like that. There's lots of opportunities for work and then play. There's a million different societies, sports clubs, which I can't speak on because I've never been part of any of them, but I'm sure they're great. And then we have like debating, politics. They're the ones I'm actually part of. But basically something for everyone. In Trinity, we even have a rock climbing wall. Bizarre, but if that's your thing, absolutely, this is brilliant. And there's loads of opportunities for good times, loads of opportunities for places to meet people throughout the year. A lot of people think that just Freshers Week, the first week of college, is like the time to meet people. Absolutely not. Every single day, there's a different society event that you can go to, make new friends, and also lectures and group work and stuff. So if I move on to the next slide, I think I'm nearly finished. yeah, so I just wanted to really emphasize, and the whole point of my presentation really is to get that human side of the motivational story, that it's worth applying, like not just for all the statistics and all the help on paper, but it actually just makes your life better, easier. And if college isn't the place for you, you can always leave, it's fine, but I really encourage you to try it. Um, I encourage you to know that you're welcome, you're just as valuable there as everyone else is. And yeah, if I move on to the next slide, then yeah. So that's another thing I wanted to again reiterate, is that things get better. I secondary school can be an amazing place for some people, can be difficult for some people, but I don't think anyone enjoys the actual leaving cert. Um, College exams are different. Sometimes they're actually interesting because you get to choose what you want to study. You get to narrow it down to what you're actually interested in, and you can see yourself in the future doing things. So, if you really want to become a doctor, doing your biology test in first year now shows you what it's going to be like, and it's like a path to the future. Whereas doing, I don't know, I never felt like that doing my applied maths homework, but maybe that's just me. And then if I move along, 10 minutes left. I'm pretty much finished, I think. Um, okay, so yeah, so I wanted to mention again the solidarity bit. Look for the people in your corner. I promise you there are so many of them. If you are in Trinity, I'll give you a quick list of them. So they are, sorry, Daniel, did you want to say something?
No, no, no.
Okay, cool. So you have your lecturers, your TAs, but you also have your tutor. So your tutor is a member of academic staff who is there to advocate on your behalf. You have your class rep, who is a member of your class group who is there to advocate on behalf. You have your S2S mentors, so they're second year, third year, or fourth year students who are there to support you in your transition to college. You have the disability service, they have occupational therapists, counselors, what you call them? Oh my God, what you call them? Social workers. You have the health service. They have GPs, nurses, a psychiatrist. Um, then you have student counselling service. That's just what it says in the tin. And you have the ability co-op. So basically, even if you're struggling, even if one of those groups can't help you, you have so many other places to go, and everyone is on your side. If I move along then, I promise I'm nearly finished. Yes. Okay. So that's just me reminding you to reach out to us if you've any questions about student life in Trinity from the perspective of students. My email was in the chat there. I hope everyone can see it if it's still there. Yeah. Um yeah, I think that's me good. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to ask them to me on this call or to send them to that email. Thank you.
No, thanks so much, Kira. Um, I think it's really important as well, like you said, there's really for anyone worried about, oh my goodness, I have X, Y, or Z of a disability and I really don't know what life is going to be like next year. Exactly what Kira said, there are more resources, there are more people to help you in college than there are in secondary school. And likewise, there's kind of there's so many people that, as Kira was detailing them, it's like they're kind of the person for the problem. So it's not like you have to go to one person and tell them everything that's wrong. Sometimes you just go to one person and say, "Oh goodness, I can't access this document, or I need extra time for something." So again, just letting people know that there's so much help available. And I wonder, Kira, if you could even just for a second, if I could ask you, thinking about what the title of this kind of presentation is, and then the people who are here, um, what would you say to yourself last year with the information that and knowledge that you have now? Thinking of the applicants who are on the call.
Um, when you say last year, I presume you mean like 2 years ago now.
I do mean 2 years ago. Sorry.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
cool. Yeah. No, just checking. I
Your
was gonna
leaving
say
cert
sorry.
self. What would you say to your leaving cert self?
Yeah. I guess one of the things I would say to myself is I was very caught up on points. Something I can tell you about humanities in Trinity, is so there's PPES and there's BEST, say, right? We have 5 out of the 6 same classes, and one is 50 points more. It is not a big difference. Like my course was 60 points more than what I'm actually studying now. The only difference was a couple of classes in first year. Like the points, you get around it, right? There are
Mhm.
some specific ones like medicine where it might be difficult to get the exact same thing, but for arts,
Mhm.
don't panic. Because I would have been super stressed, like, oh my God. And they're also different. They're not also different. The other thing is just, like I've been saying, getting to decide your own how your day goes, getting to decide your own weekend. That's a massive difference that always makes me feel better. And the other
Yeah.
thing, actually, when I was talking about supports, I didn't even mention the supports that aren't disability related. Like, I spend my life at the IT service desk. I cannot do IT for the life of me. And it's so, so helpful to have academic registry, global hub, IT services. If you're just getting a bit stressed, just go to them. You don't need to be stressed about it. Don't panic. It's okay. Someone else will be there to help you with it.
Yeah, I think that's really a good point that again, like we said, it's like don't internalize anything. Do that kind of piece and pull it out and say, actually, this is a problem that the university needs to resolve for
Yeah.
us. So it's really important to stress that. Um, Again, I just wanted to take the time to say thank you so much, Kira, for coming to
Thank
talk to
you.
us today. I got a question there in the chat, and I think it's a really good one. Um, if you can just make sure for everyone with the DARE scheme. The DARE scheme can't change the matriculation requirements, and I know that's kind of quite a dense word, but basically, if you need to have honors maths for a specific course that you're applying to, the DARE scheme can't change that. So, like Kira said, there's a lot of fluidity with points. That's what the scheme's there for, but the scheme cannot change requirements for entry. So, like that's even things like if you might need a foreign language for the course, there's always options for the likes of language exemptions. That is true. But if there are specific needs for the course matriculation requirements, you need to make them. So that's like something like the leaving cert. Sorry, I see a question in the chat there. Medicine. So the DARE scheme will only change your leaving cert points. You still need to sit the HPAT and get high HPAT points. So that's just something to be aware of. We are now 12. Yeah, we're nearly out of time. But I suppose if I could just say thank you very much to Quiva, Erica, and everyone else at the head. It's been wonderful to come speak to you guys. Please make sure that this isn't the final time you hear us on the DARE scheme. Go on to Access College, start reaching out to people, and start making that application. Thank you very much.
Thanks a mil, guys. That was incredible. And just to say, you're both fantastic speakers. I was blown away. So thank you so much.